want to share my salary so that you can understand what kind of rates and ranges you could be looking at. I started off my career about 8 years ago, and I worked at a startup as like a general whatever. I literally didn't have a title. And I was making $38,000 as a contractor. I went from there to work my first big girl UX job, which paid me $70,000 full time. And I would also have bonuses about 10% per year. So let's say $7,000. I stayed there for roughly 2.5 years. I also had maternity leave, which was great for 4 months. I took a brief pause because of maternity and COVID, and then I started working at Merck as a contractor. I worked there for about 9 months, but I basically had a 1-year-long contract for about $120,000. While Merck was not my favorite place to work, it gave me the access to this feeling of 6-figure income. I then moved my way over to Walmart, where I believe I was making like $130,000. Full-time benefits. I had some stock options, but you need to be there for a while for it to vest. I got super burnt out, so I left after about 1.5 years. I also had my second baby right before Walmart, so it made sense. Then I couldn't find a job for like 6 to 8 months. I can't remember at this point. It was a while. I was completely depleting all my savings, but I did find a job at Ford. I'm going to give you a range just to be safe, but the range is from anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000. If I ever leave, I will tell you the actual salary. But the point is that my salary has been going up every single time I move. And it is true what they say. You know, if you stay at a company for a while, they will give you slight promotions and raises in your salary. But nothing works quite as well as just jumping ship. You get an almost guaranteed 20 to 30% hike. I should also mention I worked exclusively remote jobs basically since Barclays. And I even had a conversation one time with a recruiter, and I was like, how did you find me? What specifically stood out to you about my background? And she said, you're in a cheap city. So Philadelphia is a cheap city if you're looking for good talent, but you need them to work remotely for bigger cities like New York or San Francisco, let's say. So I do live in Philadelphia, therefore I don't make at the top of the scale, even though I have a bunch of years of experience and I have a strong e-commerce side, but it doesn't matter.